Imagine thousands of bats, fluffy, wide-eyed, and just minding their own business, suddenly recruited into military service. Now picture each one strapped with a teeny-tiny incendiary device no bigger than a thimble as they nestle in the rafters of an enemy city. Then, boom, one by one, their explosive accessories ignite, turning entire buildings into raging infernos. Sounds like something out of a particularly weird sci-fi novel, right? Well, believe it or not, this was an actual plan cooked up during World War II. The brain behind this, batty scheme? A Pennsylvania dentist named Lytle Doc Adams, who apparently felt his talents were wasted on molars and cavities when he could be brainstorming high-flying war tactics. After a trip to New Mexico's bat-infested Carlsbad Caverns, Adams had an epiphany. Why not strap tiny bombs to bats and let them do the dirty work? Because, of course, that's what a normal person thinks while watching bats emerge from a cave. In January 1942, Adams wrote directly to President Franklin Roosevelt with his, let's call it, unconventional idea. "Dear Mr. President," he began, laying out his grand vision of bat-assisted warfare. To his credit, FDR didn't immediately throw the letter into the trash or call for security. Instead, he scribbled a note to his military advisors. "This man is not a nut," which, let's be honest, is not the strongest endorsement. But given that the US government was simultaneously researching pigeon-guided missiles, this wasn't even the weirdest idea floating around. Once the project, eventually dubbed Project X-Ray, got the green light, Adams assembled a team that sounds less like a group of military scientists and more like a cast of characters from an action comedy. Among them, a mammalogist, a Hollywood actor turned pilot, a lobster fisherman, a weightlifter, a former hotel manager, and an ex-gangster who may or may not have worked for Al Capone. It was less elite government task force and more Ocean's 11, but with bats. The team got to work, tackling some truly bizarre logistical problems. First, which species of bat would make the best flying fire starter? After extensive testing, which surely annoyed a lot of bats, they settled on the Mexican free-tailed bat, mostly because there were plenty of them hanging around in Texas. Then came the question of how to convince the bats to carry tiny bombs into enemy buildings. The solution? Superglue. That's right, they literally glued tiny incendiaries to the bats' little bellies. Of course, testing didn't exactly go smoothly. Some bats refused to wake up from their induced hibernation and simply plummeted to the ground like furry, explosive snowflakes. Others decided not to be part of this nonsense and flew off, probably to spread the word about humans being insane. And in one particularly catastrophic incident, a few bats managed to escape while still armed and promptly burned down a newly built Army airfield. Oops. Despite these minor hiccups, like accidentally torching their own facilities, Project X-Ray actually showed promise. Tests suggested that bat bombs could start way more fires than regular incendiary bombs, making them a terrifyingly effective weapon. But just as Adams and his team were preparing to launch their winged army, another, slightly bigger bomb entered the picture: the atomic bomb. At that point, the military understandably decided that precision-trained bats were no longer necessary when they had something capable of wiping out an entire city in one fell swoop. Project X-Ray was quietly shelved in 1944, leaving Adams and his team of misfit scientists to disperse back into civilian life. Adams, ever the dreamer, continued inventing. His next big idea? Aerially seeding forests by dropping grass pellets from planes. Not as dramatic as fiery bat warfare, but hey, at least it didn't involve accidentally burning down military bases. In the end, Project X-Ray stands as one of the wildest, weirdest, and most accidentally destructive experiments of World War II. And while it never saw combat, it at least left us with the knowledge that, given the right circumstances, even a tiny bat can be a weapon of mass destruction. Thanks for stopping by Nutshelled History. Now get batty on those like and subscribe buttons for me. See ya.